full. All right. Speakers today have been absolutely phenomenal. So they set the bar really high for me, and I'm going to just try to keep up with them. So yes, my name is Bob. I run an agency called Impact in the United States. And the best way to think about my company is actually kind of similar to ConversionXL. So we have the marketing component, or marketing agency component, but we also are really strong in the educational content area, and we're starting to get into events similar to this as well. Obviously, Pep and the team at ConversionXL, they focus on conversion optimization, and we focus on inbound marketing. So I was asked to include a little bit of background on my company. So I saw the show of hands before, and there are a good amount of agencies in the room. So I started probably very similar to the way a lot of you guys have started your businesses. I started as just a freelancer. So I had a full-time job at a manufacturing company. It was okay. It wasn't my favorite thing to do. But during that period of time, it was my first job out of college. I was learning how to optimize a website, how to get more leads for the business, how to get more traffic for the business. Going through my friends and family network, I ended up getting a small book of business. And I probably had about 3 or 4 clients, which turned into 5, 6, 7, 8. And I was like, you know what, I could probably do this full time. So I quit my job, went full time, got so busy I hired somebody out of my house. I didn't even have an office at the time. Kept getting more business, got an office, hired some interns, got some more clients, and just grew very organically. So we started literally from nothing, and right now we did about $3 million last year, and we're going to do about $4 million this year, being an agency. It was mentioned that we are a HubSpot partner. We are actually one of the top HubSpot partners in the world. There's, I think, 17 diamond agencies, and we were, I think, the 7th one to become a diamond agency. So it's people that are doing the most business with HubSpot. It was already referenced a couple of times today, and I want to talk through a little bit of how we use HubSpot to get our results. So I mentioned inbound marketing, and I'm not sure if inbound marketing is a term that this group knows, so I wanted to very quickly go through the inbound marketing methodology. So the idea here is you want to turn strangers all the way through so that they are customers and promoters, but it starts with turning strangers into visitors. And I think Susan just did a really kick-ass job talking about content marketing and how to attract people to your website. And the idea here is not using so many paid channels, but using like search and social to drive people to your content on your website. So they are now visitors on your site. The next part of the methodology is convert. And this is obviously why I have interest in CXL and events like this, is we want to turn these visitors into first, at least email opt-ins, which is a metric that we track, and then nurture those email opt-ins so they eventually can become sales qualified leads. We typically will work with lead generating businesses. So obviously agencies would be lead generating, we're lead generating. So that's typically the market that we work with. Those leads we want to turn into customers. So we'll do that by taking those warm leads, those sales qualified leads, and go through like a very consultative, data-driven sales process, typically called an inbound sales process, and then turn those customers into promoters. And some of the things that obviously making sure, we've heard a lot, Morgan talked a lot about this before, but having that good onboarding, make sure you're delivering value quickly, collecting that feedback for your customers so you can continuously improve. Once they are really happy and having success, make sure you're getting case studies and testimonials so you can have that social proof, and certainly turning your promoters into affiliates or even value-added resellers who are very actively promoting your business. So that's the inbound marketing methodology. And the reason why I'm up here too talking about this is I grew my entire business with inbound marketing, starting from literally just a few $100,000 in revenue per year, all the way to, again, we'll do $4 million this year. Inside my organization, we are 35 people, and this is our marketing team. This is the ones that are overseeing all the content marketing. So we've always had a marketing leader, somebody in charge of overseeing the content marketing programs like Sujan was just talking about. We used to have a marketing director, and actually when that person left, I just took over the role because that's really one of my primary functions of the business is being the marketing leader. So I think that goes really in line with what Morgan was saying earlier about how when you're small and you're still kind of a startup, how the CEO has to really own that. And obviously I'm the CEO of the organization, and I also wear pretty much the CMO hat at my company. And my team, very small. I have a content marketing manager who oversees, again, everything that Sujin was just talking about. And then I have a hybrid graphic designer, web developer who can start publishing and making all the stuff that we create look beautiful. So from the early beginnings, and again, talking very similar to what Sujin was saying, we had a very aggressive marketing program. It actually looked like this. We were pumping out 10 pieces of content a week. So that turned into 500 new pieces of content. And again, across the board, those were guest posts, those were ebooks. That turned into 500 per year, and we did that we're still doing around that right now. So we have about 3,000 pieces of content on our website right now. So we knew we wanted to grow. I'm going to show you the metrics that we had in a second, but the metrics we were having coming in were nice, but they were not enough to hit our aggressive growth goals. So we set a goal. We said, let's see if we could 3x what we're doing right now. 3x our traffic, 3x the leads we're getting from our site. So these are the metrics that we had. And this is back in June of 2015. So that's kind of the benchmark. That's when we really set the goal. And we were having about 60,000 visitors come to our site. New email opt-ins, 800 per month. That's decent. We had 80 inbound sales qualified leads. So of those 8,000 people giving us their email address, about 80 per month were people we said, okay, maybe we can work with them, or we should outreach them to see if there's a fit here for services. And then that brought us down to about 2 new inbound customers per month. So when we look at the 3x goal, simple, take those numbers, times them by 3. 180,000 visitors, 2,400 opt-ins, so on and so on. Let's get to 6 new customers per month, and that would help us hit our aggressive revenue goals. The previous year, this is what our website traffic had looked like per month. So you can see we were really kind of around that 60,000 mark, but the problem is we were flat with website traffic. Not quite where we wanted to be. And when just looking at email opt-ins, we actually were decreasing. So that was our current situation. To add to that, in retrospect, now looking at our content, I know Surgeon kind of mentioned he looked at some stuff, he said it was okay, and it could have been better piece of content. I felt the same way about a lot of our content. It was getting a little dated, and I knew it could be better. My team may not have saw that. They might not have been given their best amount of effort. So content wasn't great. Plus, we were in the HubSpot community. We were there pretty early on, but that was growing, so we were facing increased competition and a lot of pressure from competitors, and we started seeing new names start to outrank us for our content terms. And on top of that, we also had a little bit of a morale problem. I talked about my marketing director leaving. We weren't seeing eye to eye. The team just seemed like they weren't super happy. They were constantly being pushed to get better results. Didn't always understand why, so we had some turnover issues as well. So that was like kind of the big issues that we had going into the summer of 2015. So we had to change our leadership. Like I said, I took over the marketing role. So this is me and my 2 marketing people. They're not really manias, they're actually really talented. And I said, okay, we're going to update the marketing plan. We're going to go from doing 10 pieces of content a week, and we're going to just ramp that up. Now we're going to do 17. Everyone's going to work harder. But also to get to that, I want everyone in the company creating content, which actually was a good part of the plan. We still do that. And we said, we're just going to improve the look and feel of our website. That's got to be part of the issues too. It's not fast enough, and could be better looking. When people come there and have a first experience, it could be better. So 1 year later, what were our results? Did we hit the 3x goal? We improved. I took a shot at the dark, and some things did well. My team was still feeling very burnt out, but we improved the metrics. 42% traffic, about 80% rest of the metrics here. But we fell short of the 3x goal. So we weren't quite where we wanted to be, but we kept the goal in place. So I talked about, we made all these changes in the summer of 2015. We started learning going into 2016. This is actually when I discovered CXL. And the reason why I really discovered them is they were one of those competitors that were outranking me, which I didn't like. But a lot of respect, because the content was just out of this world. Which also goes back to one of Sujin's points, is that you just have to be better than your competitors. I'm not sure if Pep and the team saw that we were ranking #1 for value proposition examples, and that was a really competitive keyword, and he probably looked at my article and said, I could do something so much better than this, did it, now outranks me. And this is a very popular keyword term that drives a lot of traffic, so I would love to get the #1 spot back, but Pep has it with great content. So summer 2016 comes around, and now we're starting to get ourselves a little bit more educated. I'm exposed to CXL, exposed to the company. I go to CXL Live, 2016 in Austin, and Pep, his keynote was talking about the ResearchXL model, which was brand new to me. I knew enough about collecting user research to kind of be dangerous, but we definitely weren't doing it well and weren't doing it consistently at our company. So we had to improve in that area. So he walked through these 6 steps. I'm going to go through them more in a minute, but really appreciate this model and knew we had to start doing this type of work in our business. So what I'm going to start talking through now is the how. How do we get to the point where I got to the process where this is working in my small business, my agency, that could also be repeatable for our clients? So the next level, taking all this research, I was also getting exposed at the same time to growth-driven design. It's a concept that a friend of mine is working on, Luke Summerfield. He works at HubSpot and was building this growth-driven design model. And his whole concept was, instead of doing a complete website redesign, do smaller iterations on a monthly basis. And again, this is how I started first getting exposed to it. So there's a concept that there was a backlog, and to start working off the backlog, and the concept that you do time-boxed work. That, and this is all kind of based off of agile and lean principles. So I said, okay, well, I don't know anything about that. So what is agile, which led me to Scrum, which led me to read this book by Jeff Sutherland, Scrum, The Art of Doing Twice the Work in Half the Time. So that's a pretty cool value proposition. And that taught me about the Scrum process, where here's the same backlog we were talking about with all the work prioritized, and you're turning it into to sprints. And you have a Scrum team, and Scrum teams are generally small teams, 5 to 9 people. The best teams operate probably around 7 people. And you have these teams, and what they do is they plan their sprints for a week, or whatever sprint time. You do a sprint anywhere between like a week and a month. We do a week. So they plan their sprints, and they have this meeting for a sprint planning meeting. Everyone on the team autonomously takes work off the backlog, and they plan out what they're going to do during that sprint. They have daily stand-ups where they check in. They talk about what they did the day before, what they're going to do today, if there's anything standing in their way of getting work done. And then they have, at the end of the sprint, they do a review and a retrospective. The review is to, in that sprint there are tests. The review is a great time to talk about what did we learn from those tests. Is the test complete? If there's work to be done, did we complete all the work we said we were going to complete during that time period? And then the retrospective is good because it's talking about the team. So I mentioned all those team health issues we were having before, and the morale was low. This process, by putting this in place with our team, really helped that for a couple of reasons. When you plan your sprint, there's only a certain capacity that everybody in the team could do in a given week. We measure it in points, you can measure it in hours, call it 36 points in a week is what everybody can do, and everyone's pulling in that amount of work every week, not more or not less. That way, no one's getting burnt out because they have 70 hours of work to do and only 36 hours a week to do it. This is a chance to proactively plan what's the most important things for us to do this week, and let's do those first, and we'll come back to the less important things, maybe, if those are still important things we have to do. So you talk through that, and then at the retrospective, it's also a great chance to get a happiness score from everyone in the team, and someone might say, it's a 10, this is the best week I ever had, and then someone else might say, it's a 5, and here's the reasons that make it a 5. Now the team knows about it, so they can start working on it proactively, and that helped a lot with the team morale. So that was Scrum. We implemented Scrum, so we've got now the ResearchXL model, which was really helpful. Now we know all the type of research we should be doing, influenced by growth-driven design, the concept of a backlog, and doing small iterations, which then led me into Scrum. And the last part of it was, how do you prioritize that backlog? And that led me into the PXL model, which I think came out right around the same time I had that question. And I learned about models such as Pi, and there's other ways of doing that. But this is the first model that I found that really in a very quantitative way, really helped us prioritize. There wasn't opinion of what should be number 1, number 2, or number 3 in our backlog. Using this actual model, the PXL model, really helped me focus on what are the real most important things that we should be working on. So we started implementing PXL as we prioritize that backlog, and that's how we put together our structure. So this is our new workflow for how we work with the team. So from a strategic standpoint, and Morgan talked about this, is having like getting the whole team together to brainstorm. It's just a giant brain dump, which we do once a month. What are the tests we should do? What is the work that needs to get done? What kind of content should we create? And the whole idea here is just to fill a gigantic backlog and make sure the backlog never runs out of tests, never runs out of ideas. And I mentioned we do weekly sprints. So the next few meetings are weekly. As the leader of the team, it's my job to groom that backlog. So that means it always needs to be at least once a week updated for priority. So I'll take about 30 minutes or so, look at the backlog, use the PXL model, and prioritize the work that needs to be done. And then that way when we go into our weekly planning meeting and the team is autonomously taking the work in that they're going to do, they're working off the top of the list and they're working on the most important things. Talked about the daily stand-ups, where again, once a week, everyone gets together and they talk about what did I do today, what did I do yesterday, and what's blocking me from getting my work done, so the team can work through those problems. And then we do the review and retrospective. And we happen to do the planning meeting and the review and retrospective together into like 1 2-hour meeting. So this is our new workflow. So getting back to the ResearchXL model. So we implemented it and we dove right in, and then if you don't know what the ResearchXL model is too, I know I kind of just hit on that quickly. The concept that Pep came up with here is it's a model to help you create more tests, to help you create better tests, and to help you have a bigger impact on your business. And we talked about that there's 6 steps. I'm going to go through each one and show you just some examples of the things we looked at in our business and things that went onto our backlog. So the first one is heuristic analysis. And as Pep would say, this is the closest thing to opinion in conversion optimization. And it's basically expertise coming in and saying this is what we should or shouldn't do. But it's also about speed, right? After you've gone to 5 or 6 of these events and you've been practicing for 7, 10 years, you pretty much develop an idea. Maybe there are some best practices, but if you take a really crappy website, you can easily see things that you can fix, that you can get an update. And there's really 5 things you typically are looking at when it comes to heuristic analysis. So this is an example of one page on our site. It's our outer blog layout. And we just started thinking through, like, all right, friction. What are possible friction points that are on this site? Is it the content above the fold? Could that be too big? We started thinking of other things, like, if they get here, it looks kind of busy, it looks kind of dated. Are they going to see us as somebody credible? Which led to us coming up with some design modifications. So we came up and it looked more professional, so it was remove a friction point. Distraction. You look at that top hero area, certainly a lot of stuff going on with a dark background and images with words, and then there's words on top of it. So could people really see that? Clarity. You look at the other content here. Do they actually know what that content is going to be about? There's no real description of the content. Value. One thing we questioned Ramona, who's my content marketing manager. Why is she the only one that's consistently blogging? We realized the last 10 articles all came from her. So we need to mix that up a little bit so we can have a little bit more value for our audience. And relevancy, and we talked a little bit about relevancy, or Surgeon did. But is it relevant to the main topic of what our product offerings and what our audience wants? And then start going around that into that ecosystem, so you kind of have like a spoke and pillar thing going on. If you go too outside that, you might not have the relevancy. So these are some of the things we were looking at. Again, we filled the backlog. I'll show you some of the results in a minute. All right, technical analysis. And technical analysis is basically crushing all the bugs on your website, right? So when someone gets to the site, is anything broken, it needs to be fixed. So the way we did it is exactly the way we were taught. You're first going to start looking at your Google Analytics and seeing where the follow-up points might be happening, certain devices or certain browsers, starting to identify issues there. we happened to find 2 areas where we typically had major issues. Internet Explorer, as we probably all know, is one of the main issues. Our site was not playing well with it, and Android devices. So it just happened to be most people in my company are using Mac devices, and they're using iPhones and Chrome browsers. And when we built the site, everything seemed to work pretty nicely, but it wasn't until we dug into the analytics that we saw that we were having a problem there. And we were able to further explore the problem by going to a tool like Browser Stack, or going to a tool like Hotjar, and Browser Stack, which show us a rendering of how our site looked in different devices so we could play around with it. And then Hotjar actually gave us session replays. So we can isolate down by the device and see the actual issue that the user was having and then how they reacted with it. Then the other big thing with the technical analysis is website speed. Luckily for us, when we dug into website speed, our website is hosted on the HubSpot platform, which is very, very much optimized for speed. But every page, HubSpot will give you the details specifically on site speed, and we found a few areas that we were able to optimize. So web analytics. Web analytics is looking at like the most popular pages. You're really looking for 3 things. It's the most popular pages on your website and how they're performing. You're looking for leaks on the website. And there's a third one that I'm totally blanking on what it was right now, but that's basically what you're looking for when you're going through web analytics. So this is actually kind of relevant to what Surgeon was talking about. Again, we did a lot of content marketing. This is probably the one where we got our biggest win. And I'm going to go into this a little bit deeper in a little bit, but the thought process behind that was look at the pages on your site that get the most traffic, and how can we further optimize those for conversions. And HubSpot's got a tool called the Page Performance Tool, really easy to go through. This is what a screenshot is, and this is one example of how we were able to increase the conversion rate on this article. Looks like we almost doubled it, or more than doubled it. We went from 1.59% conversion rate to 3.13 of turning website visitors into opt-in emails. Fourth one is mouse tracking analysis. So this is using heat maps to better understand how people are interacting with our website. And the 2 most popular heat maps that you'll be looking at are click maps and scroll maps. So we were looking at both of those. We started finding that when we were going through our blog layout, that there were certain areas that were getting limited clicks. And we also found out that only 25% of the people never even scroll down our page. So we started questioning how could we improve that, or how could we get the most important things above the page. So we did a blog redesign, which helped a little bit with the clicks, but we are still kind of working on how can we get the most relevant content to our people, because we saw that there's still a big fallout. People are not scrolling down on our blog layout, so still working on that. So always have areas to improve. And then session replays as well, it also falls into this bucket. I talked about one way that we used it, but Hotjar is a great tool if you're not using it to actually see how real people are engaging on your site, so you can make smart decisions. 2 more on the model, and this is where we're going to start getting a little bit more qualitative with qualitative surveys. So it's literally asking the questions so you can start getting answers to why. And one way that we did it on our site was on our opt-in page, so people click through, try and get their email address here, and we asked them, a pop-up like why would they not fill it out. So we got a few responses there, and we also put the same type of question, but we asked them why did they opt in. So we were getting the data on both sides of the opt-in form. That helped lead us to some insights so we can better optimize. And you can see we have an offer here in exchange for opting into our blog. So we were able to get, some of the people filling out that form were saying that this offer is not relevant. So it gave us some ideas of maybe we can have some different offers or test a different offer there. And again, this is an area we're still working on and optimizing. But I did really like Surgeon's idea of having that 2017 digital marketing strategy. So we were already thinking about going down that way, and I think you just inspired me to maybe test that. One other cool thing about HubSpot and Hotjar is they have an integration. So anyone that fills out these polls goes into what's called a contact timeline in HubSpot. which is really cool because anytime someone fills out a form, it creates a contact profile and it tracks every interaction that one person has had with your brand. I think that's one of the most unique things about HubSpot. So any page they viewed, any email they received or opened, it all goes into our contact timeline, including the questions to any Hotjar polls. And the last one is user testing, and this is really just observing someone as they're interacting with your website, and as I'm sure everyone here knows, and just really the focus here is just listening to what they're saying as they're thinking out loud as they're going through that experience. So one of the tests, I don't have pictures or anything for this slide, but one of the tests that we did, again, got inspired at CXL Live this year, was we brought in a bunch of customers and prospects, people that we know, and had them walk through certain parts of our website, mostly around services, and basically just sat them down and asked them to go through the site and just talk out loud to what they're seeing. That led to a lot of different insights. We had a couple of questions ready for them to go. And then all that information was the qualitative research that we need to better understand some tests that we can do to optimize the site. So going through the ResearchXL process, which was at the core of everything we did over the last 12 months, these were our results. So here's where we were. So 15, we were at 62,000 visitors, 87,900 visitors. Still got that big goal there. So at May of 2017, we crushed our goal, especially for traffic, specifically around tests that we did to drive more traffic to the site. And going all the way through, you can see we had more than double almost across the board, and we beat goal on every single metric. So this is what our traffic looked like, a quick view. So it looks a lot different than what our traffic looked like the year before. And this is what email opt-ins looked like. So you could say we are a very, very happy agency and love the marketing program as it stands right now. But we're hoping that this compounding continues, and we just know we have to keep running more tests per year, which is really kind of the theme as we're going into next year. So it's not as much about more content anymore, it's about more tests. So, and then just for fun, I thought I'd include some of the other things that we did and some of the reasoning behind. Here's just some other ideas. One of our hypotheses were that people were seeing our pop-ups too early on the site, so we want to reimagine the pop-ups. So instead of just slowing them down, what we did is when people closed it out, it just let the user know that if they want to come back, that it's going to be sitting right at the bottom of the screen. All I have to do is click them to reopen it. Because I know in my own user experience, okay, I'm over. So I know in my own user experience that I would see something really awesome, and I'd click it out because I was still looking at the material and be like, oh, I wish I didn't close that out. And then these are a few other ones. We had a new subscriber onboarding campaign. We started the Impact Show. And then the most successful tests, and I'll wrap it up here, the most successful tests that we did all year, going back to the keywords ones, we had a hypothesis that we can improve our search rankings for content, ranking anywhere between 4 and 50 for popular keywords, thus significantly improving our organic traffic. So we already had long-form content, so what we picked a few of our popular articles, we went through, we tried to make it better, like Surgeon was talking about, made it a lot longer, higher quality, better than anything else in the search results, and it significantly improved our rankings. And so we used a keyword tool like this, and that's how we found the keywords we wanted to rank for and improve the rankings, and this is what our organic traffic looked like by just doing that one test. We've tried it with a lot of different clients, so I would definitely recommend if you're looking to increase your organic traffic from your content marketing and you already have a good base of traffic and good search rankings, this would be maybe a test to consider. So my last two takeaways here, what Pep and the team at CXL is preaching, it works, but I'm sure you guys already know that, and consider implementing agile principles and a similar workflow to what we're doing to generate great ideas, prioritize, and create breakthrough results. And there's my information. I noticed on the website my last name was spelled A-L-O, it's O-L-O, so if you have trouble finding me, that's how you spell my last name. Thank you.